8 spine-chilling paranormal encounters unearthed on camera. Sinister secrets exposed. Lisa stumbled through her front door, the weight of another grueling night shift at the hospital pressing down on her. The clock read 11:45 p.m., and the small suburban neighborhood around her home seemed blissfully unaware of the demons lurking just outside her window. A heavy fog rolled in, coiling tightly like tendrils around the streetlights, obscuring everything in a thick gray mist. Her daughter Mia's laughter echoed faintly from the backyard, a sweet sound that momentarily eased the dread bubbling in Lisa's gut. But that comfort was short-lived. As she scrolled through the security camera footage the next morning, fatigue clawed at her eyelids. The imagery flickered on the screen, and her heart raced when she saw it, a shadowy figure moving stealthily near their fence, slipping in and out of view like a ghost. She leaned closer, a cold shiver trickling down her spine. It was gone before she could make out any details, leaving behind a gnawing sense of unease that settled heavily in her chest. Dismissing it as mere exhaustion, Lisa buried her fears and brushed off Mia's concerns about the strange shadows lurking, voicing her usual, "It's just your imagination, sweetheart." After all, this was a good neighborhood, wasn't it? The kind where children rode their bikes until dusk and neighbors waved as they trimmed their perfectly manicured lawns. But as dusk settled like a heavy curtain on another day, the air itself felt charged, as if something unspeakable lurked just outside their home. Later that week, the whispers began. Mia, in her adventurous spirit, discovered odd, carved symbols near their neighbor's property, a pattern of jagged lines that seemed alive with an eerie energy. She excitedly pointed them out, her eyes twinkling with youthful curiosity, but Lisa's stomach twisted. The stories of the neighborhood whispered through her mind, tales of a dark history hidden beneath their feet that sent chills racing up her arms. "Mom! Look at this!" Mia exclaimed one afternoon, digging deeper into the asphalt, her tiny hands flinging dirt in every direction. Lisa's heart raced as she watched her daughter unearth bits of broken porcelain and rusted metal, remnants of something that should have remained buried. What were they truly living next to? Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. A week later, the lights in their home flickered violently, plunging them into darkness. Panic surged in Lisa's chest as she clutched Mia's hand tightly, an instinctual protectiveness sweeping over her. The familiar faces of neighbors morphed into gauzy images behind the curtains, their eyes now reflecting something sinister rather than friendly. Each hollow smile felt like a warning. "Keep our own," her neighbor said with an unsettling grin, and Lisa felt a chill claw up her spine. Suddenly, the air buzzed with a foreboding hum, as if the very essence of their community was unraveling. Racing home with Mia, the familiar streets transformed into a maze of shadows and echoes, laughter mingling in a ghastly chorus. Who could she trust anymore? The fine fracture of reality shattered, and Lisa gripped her daughter's hand tighter. The shadows were not finished with them yet. The night hung low with a threat too large to ignore. What kept their neighborhood cloaked in silence, and what would be revealed if they dared to dig deeper? Lisa awoke the next morning to an unsettling silence, wrapping herself in a thin blanket of apprehension. She glanced at Mia's empty bed, the covers tossed as if the child had vanished into thin air. Panic gripped her heart as she scoured the house, her voice trembling. "Mia! Where are you?" The echoes of her shout bounced off the walls, but no answer came. The air was thick and heavy, carrying an unfamiliar staleness that heightened her dread. She flicked on the living room light, the bulb sputtering in protest, before making her way to the backyard. Fog loitered around the remnants of their once cheerful garden, dampening the world in muted hues. "Mia!" Lisa called again, her voice cracking, an ominous knot twisting in her stomach. The laughter she had once delighted in felt like a distant memory now, replaced by an unsettling stillness that clawed at her nerves. At last, she spotted Mia, crouched by the edge of the yard near the eerie symbols she'd uncovered days before. Her daughter stared at the ground, absently tracing one of the symbols with a finger that seemed to glow faintly, as though connecting her to some hidden force. "Mia! What are you doing?" Lisa rushed over, the words tasting like panic on her tongue. Mia didn't look up. Instead, she whispered something, her voice barely above a hush. "I can hear them, Mom, they're talking." Lisa knelt beside her, an icy chill wrapping around her shoulders like tendrils. "Who, sweetie? Who's talking?" "They want to play," Mia said, her voice strangely calm, a haunting contrast to the terror squeezing Lisa's chest. "They want to show me the treasure." A rush of fear and protective instinct surged through Lisa. "No, honey, we need to go inside now," she insisted, grabbing Mia's arm gently but firmly. Mia resisted for a moment, but the charm of whatever was calling to her shattered as her mother's grip took hold. They hurried back into the house, the door slamming shut behind them with an unsettling finality. Once inside, Lisa locked the door and checked the windows, filled with a sense of urgency. She needed to keep the malevolence out. But the afternoon light seemed sickly now, and shadows lingered longer than they should, twisting like fingers around the edges of her vision. As the sun dipped, an excruciating sense of foreboding filled the air. Tiny whispers echoed through the walls, deliberate and taunting. Lisa pressed her hands to her ears, trying to drown them out, when suddenly, their security camera began to emit a low, persistent hum, the screen flickering, revealing glimpses of their yard. Lisa's heart raced as she studied the footage. Shadows moved unnaturally, swirling and morphing into grotesque shapes. What had once been familiar now appeared otherworldly and wrong. She squinted, an icy jolt racing through her as something curved into view, a dark figure twisted like a wisp of smoke, watching, waiting. A loud bang disrupted her thoughts. It resonated from the back door. "Mia," Lisa whispered, feeling her heart drop, the hairs on her neck prickling. "Stay here." Dread clawed as she edged toward the noise, each step thunderous in her ears. A voice, not Mia's, drifted from the other side of the door, melodious yet dissonant. "Let me in, Lisa, you don't want to keep me waiting." Her breath stalled. What was out there? Gripping the doorknob, Lisa hesitated. But fear eclipsed reason, and she turned back, facing the house, when a shadow flickered into the corner of her eye, a glimpse of the figure from the footage sliding along the wall, grinning in the dim light. Panic set in, and she bolted back to Mia. But as she reached for the living room, the lights flickered violently once again, and the door creaked open behind her. "Mom!" Mia screamed, her eyes wide with terror, filled with a dread beyond her age. "What is it?" Lisa shouted, heart pounding. "What did you see?" A gust of cold air rushed past, wrapping around Lisa like icy fingers, twisting her perception, wrapping reality around their throats. "Mama," Mia whimpered. "They're not just shadows anymore." The weight of those words hung in the air, thick and suffocating. What had they awakened? What would it claim next? As the darkness deepened outside, a shriek echoed from the depths of the fog, raising the hairs on Lisa's neck. She had to find the truth, but would she survive to tell it? The darkness loomed thick, pressing in around Lisa like a heavy fog. She turned to Mia, her daughter's face a canvas of fear and confusion. The child clutched her doll tightly, knuckles white, as they both stood rooted in the pale glow of the living room light. "Mia, listen to me, we need to stay calm," Lisa urged, her voice shaking as the shadows in the corners seemed to grow. "We'll figure this out together." But Mia was already shaking her head, eyes darting toward the back door, where the loud bang had come from. "They're coming for us, Mom, I can feel it," she whispered, her voice barely rising above the fluttering shadows. The air felt electric, charged with an unseen presence. Lisa's senses screamed at her. Something was wrong beyond wrong. She could hear whispers again, now louder, sharper, as if they were closing in, wrapping around her. "Mia, follow me." They moved toward the hallway, but every step sent a ripple of chill through the air. The house felt alive, breathing, pulsing with the shadows around them. The whispers grew louder, coiling into a sinister symphony that mixed dread with despair. A crash echoed from the kitchen, followed by a low, guttural laugh. Lisa's heart raced as she reached for Mia's hand, squeezing it just a little too tightly, as if her grip alone could keep the darkness at bay. What was that? Mia's eyes were wide, filled with a child's terror, but she whispered, "They want me, Mom, they said I can't leave." "Don't listen, honey. It's not real." Lisa's voice cracked, a fragile tether to sanity. She pulled Mia closer, her heart racing as panic swelled like a tide. They needed to find a way out, a way to escape whatever was haunting their home. The whispers grew more insistent, "Stay, play with us." Lisa knew she had to act. "Let us barricade ourselves in the bedroom," she said, leading Mia down the dim corridor. Each creak of the floor felt like the house was holding its breath, waiting. They stumbled into the bedroom, slamming the door behind them, breaths frantic and shallow. Lisa shoved the dresser in front of the door, her pulse thrumming loud in her ears, that rhythmic drumming overtaking every rational thought. "Mia, stay close to me," she said, turning her back to the door. She caught a glimpse of the mirror. For a fleeting second, Lisa thought she saw a figure standing behind her. It was gone before she could fully comprehend it. A shudder crawled down her spine. Then came the thud. Something heavy pressed against the door, ramming it with desperate force. "Mom!" Mia cried out, backing into her mother. "Shoo, it's okay, Lisa murmured, but dread soured her stomach. What was out there? What did it want? The whispers twisted into a crescendo, climbing in volume, filling all corners of the room. Let us in, they sang, the sound chilling her to the core. She wanted to scream, wanted to run, but her body felt paralyzed with fear. And then silence. A thick, suffocating silence that pressed against her eardrums, swallowing all sound. An eerie calm settled, the shadows around them held their breath. Lisa squinted into the darkness, drawing a deep breath. "Mia," she whispered, gripping her daughter tighter. "What do we do now?" But as she spoke, the front door slammed shut with a violent bang. The house shook, dust raining from the ceiling, and the whispers returned, more frantic than ever. Something was pushing its way in, and it wouldn't stop until it found what it wanted. "Mama, they are coming!" Mia shrieked, her small voice swallowed by the relentless howl of the dark. Lisa couldn't think. They were trapped. The weight of the truth pressed down. She could feel it wasn't just a shadow anymore. It was more than they had awakened, it was hunting them. "Mia, close your eyes and hold my hand. Whatever happens, don't let go." Just then, a face drew up in the mirror, impossibly pale with hollow eyes staring back at her. Lisa's scream echoed through the stillness just as the door burst open, flinging them into the dark, greedy shadows beyond. The weight of fear grew unbearable. What were they becoming? What were they about to confront? As the darkness enveloped them, a thought pierced through her mind like ice. The treasure they had unknowingly unleashed awaited. The true cost of awakening the shadows loomed ever closer, and Lisa realized she didn't want to know who they would choose to take. But what if it was already too late? The darkness swallowed them whole. Lisa stumbled forward, pulling Mia along, desperately trying to orient herself. The oppressive silence pressed against her, but it was broken by distant, childlike giggles, echoing from somewhere within the depths of the house. It sent a fresh wave of terror coursing through her veins. "Mama," Mia whispered, trembling beside her. Tears glistened in her wide eyes, and her doll dangled limply from her side. The barrier of certainty was shattering. "I don't like this game, I want to go home." "No, honey. We need to keep moving. We can't let them find us," Lisa spoke through gritted teeth, choking on her own fear. She pushed forward, navigating through the suffocating blackness. Then, from behind her, a whisper slithered through the air, wet and dark. "You're not going anywhere, you belong to us now." Lisa's heart dropped, and it felt like the floor beneath her feet was sliding away. She tightened her grip on Mia's hand, forcing herself forward, her breaths coming in sharp, panicked bursts. They hurried down the hallway, the walls seeming to close in, stretching and bending into grotesque forms in her peripheral vision. A door swung open at the far end of the corridor, granting a sliver of light that flickered like a dying candle. Hope surged within her, a fragile spark against the consuming night. "There. Come on," she urged, dragging Mia along. As they approached the door, unnatural fingers of shadow began crawling out from beneath it. "Let us play," they hissed, the voice echoing with glee. "No. Get away," Lisa shouted, pushing against the door with all her strength. But it wouldn't budge. The whispers coiled around her, tightening like a noose. "Mama, I can't." Mia's voice cracked with terror. "Just a little more." Lisa grunted, feeling the dark tendrils grazing her skin, icy and clinging like spider silk. Suddenly, the whispers crescendoed into a discordant chorus, a cacophony of children laughing and crying, mixed with that guttural laughter from earlier. In that ear-splitting moment, the door swung open violently, and gravity twisted around them. They were pulled inside the light, landing on a cold wooden floor that crackled beneath them. The room was filled with old toys, dusty dolls, wooden blocks, and faded teddy bears, all staring, lifeless. Lisa looked up to find they were not alone. Figures loomed in the corners, pale children with sunken eyes and hollow cheeks, their mouths curved into twisted smiles. They stepped closer, circling Lisa and Mia, their laughter echoing like tiny bells over a graveyard. "Welcome to our playroom," one of the children sang, her voice drenched in mockery. "We've been waiting for you. Leave us alone," Lisa screamed, pulling Mia tight against her. But the room seemed to warp, the walls pulsating like a living entity, closing in. Suddenly, the light flickered, illuminating an old mirror hanging on the wall. A familiar face stared back, its grin stretching wider, an impossibility that made Lisa's blood run cold. It wasn't her reflection, it was an echo of the woman she used to be. Behind it, shadows twisted and turned, reaching for Mia with claw-like hands. "Mama," Mia whimpered, her grip loosening. "No!" Lisa cried, panic flaring as she rushed toward the mirror, desperate to protect her daughter. The figures closed in, their laughter piercing her ears. Just then, a white-hot energy surged through her. In the mirror, she saw a glimmer of a way out, a window above the chaos. "Mia, we can't give up." With one last look at the twisted forms coming for them, Lisa screamed, "Grab my hand." Mia clutched it tightly, her small fingers intertwining with her mother's. Together, they lunged toward the mirror, intent on breaking through the glass-like barrier between their dark prison and freedom. But as they collided, the eerie laughter rose again, drowning them in a sea of voices. Lisa felt time distort as if the shadows were laughing at their attempts to escape. And then everything went dark. When the light returned, they found themselves back in the hall, standing before the front door, which now stood ajar, beckoning. "Mama, it's not over." Mia's voice trembled as she stared wide-eyed into the creeping shadows. "They're still here." The truth twisted like a knife. They hadn't escaped. Something had followed them. As the door creaked open further, a rush of cold air enveloped them, bringing with it the indistinct whispers again. Shadows poured in, hungry and relentless, stretching out toward them. "What if they never let us go?" Lisa thought, fear paralyzing her once more. But before she could speak, the ominous voice from the last encounter echoed through the hallway, low and mesmerizing, "Let us play again." And Lisa knew this time, they would have to play by the true rules of the darkness. What would the darkness demand from them next? The door swung wider, revealing a landscape of dread, the shadows flickering like restless spirits. Lisa and Mia hesitated, fear gripping them tighter than the dark tendrils that sought to ensnare them. A low, sweet sing-song voice echoed through the hall. "Come and play with us forever." Lisa turned to Mia, fighting to mask her own terror. We need to go. Now," she urged, her voice trembling. But as they stepped forward, the door slammed shut behind them with a thunderous boom, sealing them in the grasp of whatever lurked just beyond. The shadows pulsed like a heartbeat, heavier now. Lisa's heart raced along with it, blood pounding in her ears. Mia clutched her doll tightly, its glassy eyes reflecting the flickering light. The figures in the corners moved closer, their smiles widening grotesquely, revealing rows of jagged teeth. "Let us play a game." One child beckoned, stepping forward. She wore a filthy dress, barely clinging to her desiccated form. "You'll love it." "No games. We don't want to play," Lisa shouted, her desperation boiling over. The laughter crescendoed again, a maddening sound that threatened to drown them. "Mama!" Mia wailed, her small body shaking as the pale figures closed in, their hands reaching out. "Stay behind me," Lisa commanded, her instinct to protect her child overriding every sense of self-preservation. She backed toward the door, desperation clawing at her throat. "Let us go." But the monsters only laughed harder, their voices harmonizing in a twisted mockery of children's joy. They raised their arms, and shadows snaked toward Lisa, each glimpse sending icy fingers of panic spiraling down her spine. Suddenly, one of the children spoke, its voice now edged with a sinister tone. "But we can't play without a game piece." The room shifted, and Lisa felt it, the air, thick and palpable, strangling her resolve. "What do you want?" she screamed, rage and fear intertwining. The ghastly children paused, tilting their heads, their hollow eyes glistening with malice. "You!" they taunted. "You're the game piece." Like puppets on strings, the figures surged forward, their pace swift and relentless. Lisa's heart raced. She pulled Mia close, spinning around to pound on the door. "Open. Please." But it stood firm as if the house itself was holding them captive. Behind her, the cacophony of laughter and whispers grew louder, as if the very walls were alive, trapping them in their nightmare. In her rising despair, Lisa remembered the shimmering mirror, the vision of escape. "Mia! We can find it again." "The mirror? Where?" Mia blubbered, panic tightening her voice. "Just follow me." Lisa grabbed her hand, racing through the room that had morphed into a grotesque playground of lost childhood. They stumbled over rusted toys and dashed past the looming figures, who gleefully danced farther away from them, reluctant to let the thrill of the chase end. They reached the wall where the mirror had been. The spot lay bare now, stripped of hope. A low, rumbling laugh came from the shadows. "Where do you think you're going?" "No!" Lisa shouted. "We want to let you take us." Too late, the voice sang, dripping with malice, as the shadows converged. A sudden flash of light illuminated the room. In it, she saw a glimmer. A shard of the mirror remained, shining bright against the encroaching dark. "There!" she shouted, pushing Mia toward it. Just as the shadows lunged, she dove for the shard, falling to her knees. The sharp edge cut into her palm, sending a surge of warmth rippling through her. "Mia, come on." But as her daughter stared wide-eyed, the shadows enveloped around them, whispering promises of darkness and eternal play. Play with us forever." Lisa knew they had to break free, but with the darkness pressing in tightly, she realized this fight was only beginning. What price would they pay for their freedom? Would it cost them their very souls? With the shard in her hand, Lisa felt an electric jolt, unlike anything she had experienced before. It pulsed within her palm, its light battling the encroaching gloom. She could hear Mia's fearful whimpers behind her, a sound echoing through the suffocating haze that closed in around them. "Keep close, Mia!" Lisa shouted, clutching the shard like a weapon. The laughter that surrounded them dipped into intrigued silence, like a predator assessing its prey. The ghastly children paused, their empty eyes wide, the twisted smiles faltering just for a moment. Then, with renewed fervor, they surged forward. The demonic little faces twisted into masks of feral delight. "We'll take you!" they screeched in unison. Lisa's instincts kicked in. She raised the shard, directing its light toward the advancing shadows. To her surprise, a few of the darker figures hesitated, recoiling from the light like roaches from a beam. "This is how we escape. Keep going, Mia," she shouted, urging her daughter forward. They dashed down what felt like an infinite corridor, walls stretching like an abyss on either side. The laughter faded slightly, replaced by rasping breaths and sinister whispers. "You can't run from us," echoed behind them. The voices slithered around her, each syllable a cold hand on her back. Suddenly, ahead of them, she noticed a door bathed in light, a stark contrast against the growing darkness. Hope flared within her. "That's it," Lisa urged, "we can get out through there." But as they approached, the laughter returned, louder and more menacing. The children flanked the door now, their once playful forms twisted into grotesque caricatures of joy. "No one leaves," they cried in a cacophony, small hands reaching out, darkness pooling at their feet like smoke. Panic gripped Lisa tightly, but she clung to the shard, drawing strength from its shimmer. "Step back," she yelled, thrusting the shard forward. The children flinched, the light burning brighter in their darkest corner. "Mia, we can't stop. Don't leave me, Mama," Mia pleaded, tears shining in her eyes. "I'm right here," Lisa reassured her, tightening her grip on her daughter's hand. Together, they pushed through the throng of shadowy figures as the shard illuminated the path forward. They reached the door. It groaned under their touch as if it too was weary from the chaos. "Open up!" Lisa screamed, desperation rising in her chest like a tidal wave. In an explosive moment, the door creaked ajar, revealing a blinding light that cascaded into the hollow darkness. The children shrieked, clawing at the air, shrill cries echoing as they were repelled by the brilliance spilling from the doorway. "Now, Mia!" Lisa shouted, adrenaline fueling her movements. They darted through the gap, the grip of the shadows loosening with each step. The warmth of light surrounded them, Lisa couldn't help but smile through her fear. But as they crossed the threshold, the laugh returned, swelling into a thunderous roar. "You'll be back, we always win." The door slammed shut, shutting out the cacophony of deranged laughter but leaving a chill creeping up Lisa's spine. They stood in a stark, white hallway, their breaths heavy in the air. What just happened? Mia trembled, her wide eyes reflecting the remnants of fear. We escaped," Lisa gasped, but even as she spoke, unease coiled in her gut like a serpent. They turned to find the walls of the hallway adorned with children's drawings, creepy stick figures with sinister smiles, scenes of play under a shadowy sun. Each drawing closed in on them, watching. "Those drawings, they're wrong," Mia whispered, her voice small and trembling. Suddenly, a low, familiar sing-song voice wafted through the stillness, echoing eerily in the confined space. "Come back, play with us forever." Lisa's heart raced. Were they truly free? Or had they just stepped into a new nightmare? As the shadows from the other side of the door began to slither beneath the frame, a chilling realization dawned on Lisa: the game was far from over. What fresh horrors lay ahead in this new realm? Would they ever be free of the darkness that pursued them? The answers swirled in the air, taunting them as they braced for whatever came next. The hallway felt endless, each step echoing in the stillness like a countdown to an uncertain fate. The light flickered ominously as though it, too, was fighting against the sinister shadows creeping in from the other side. Lisa pulled Mia close, her pulse racing, every instinct screaming that this new place was just another trap. "Stay close, Mia," she whispered, the words barely escaping her throat. Mia squeezed her hand, eyes darting to the drawings lining the walls. Each depiction felt more alive than the last, their grim smiles morphing into grotesque grins that seemed to widen the longer they stared. "They're watching us," her daughter breathed, fear pooling in her eyes. "Don't look at them," Lisa commanded, yanking her gaze away from the unsettling illustrations. "We need to find a way out." But the hallway only twisted farther into darkness, stretching infinitely before them. The air thickened with dread, heavy like a weighted blanket. Lisa's breath caught in her throat, that familiar laughter reverberated in her mind, mixing with whispered promises of play and games that would last forever. The voice echoed again, dripping with malice, "Come back, play with us, Mama, I don't like this." Mia whimpered, her grip tightening around the shard. "Neither do I," Lisa admitted, heart pounding in her chest. "But we have to keep moving." They picked up speed, the weight of unseen eyes trailing them, and Lisa felt her resolve shatter like glass. What if they were trapped in a loop, a never-ending game devised by those twisted souls? Panic clawed at her, turning her thoughts into frantic messes. Ahead, a flicker of movement caught her attention. An open door stood ajar, light like tendrils fighting against the encroaching shadow. "There!" she shouted, pointing. The door breathed warmth, offering a glimmer of hope amidst the growing horror. They sprinted toward it, Lisa's heart hammering loudly enough to drown out the cries trailing behind them. Mia stumbled but managed to keep up, fear powering her small legs. As they neared the threshold, she heard the laughter spiral into a frenzied choir, echoing endlessly through the corridor. "No! You can't leave!" The chorus of voices shrieked, small hands reaching out like claws. Lisa shoved the door hard, barely managing to slip through as it slammed behind them with a deafening bang. They stood in another room, but the wonder faded as reality hit hard. The windows were barred, the walls creeping with shadows that imitated the same sinister drawings they had fled. The walls whispered with hushed tones, "You think you can hide from us?" Mia whimpered and buried her face against her mother's leg. "Where are we?" I don't know." "Just stay behind me," Lisa whispered back, dread settling in her stomach like a heavy stone. Suddenly, the shadows pulsed, a dark energy swirling around them. The air turned icy, causing Lisa to shudder. "What's happening?" Panic rippled through her voice. From the shadows, a faint glow began to pulse, growing brighter and sharper. "Join us, forever," the voice coiled around them, seductive and cruel. Lisa watched as the shadows began to twist together, forming shapes of children, their once cheerful faces contorted into grotesque masks of despair. "Oh God," Lisa stammered, realization dawning. They weren't just shadows, they were trapping Mia and her in a web of sorrow. "No! We're not playing!" Lisa shouted, gripping the shard tightly. The glow intensified, and for an instant, she saw the flickers of fear in the children's faces. They were held captive, just like they were. When their eyes met, a flicker of understanding shot through the gaze of one of the figures. "Free us and you will escape." "Free you?" Lisa's heart raced harder. It was a game of survival, with desperate souls trapped along with them. But what would happen if she reached out? Which horrors could they unleash? Mia's voice trembled next to her. "Mama, please." The children's laughter turned sharp. "Join us, no escape forever." More tension surged as Lisa weighed the decision, the shard growing heavy in her grasp. What if freeing them meant unleashing something even worse? As realization crash-landed within her, the pulse from the shadows throbbed violently, like a heartbeat demanding her choice. "Do we dare?" she asked herself, her voice faltering. It was a terrifying leap into the unknown, one that could lead to salvation or doom. Just then, the shadows tightened around them, ready to move. Would they be able to free the figures, or would they seal their fate along with their twisted souls? Lisa had to choose her move wisely. The air turned heavier, pressing against her, ambiguities wrapping them in uncertainty. The clock was ticking. What lies beneath their choice? What new horrors awaited them if they took this route? The shadows pulsed around them, an unsettling rhythm, as if the darkness shared a heartbeat with Lisa's racing pulse. She scanned the room, desperate for an escape, but the barred windows promised confinement, not liberation. Whispers wrapped tight around her like a noose, suffocating, tugging at her mind. "Mama." Mia's voice quaked, laced with dread. Lisa hushed, struggling to maintain her composure. She was the anchor in this storm, but it was becoming increasingly difficult to hold on. With every fleeting moment, the figures in the shadows intensified, swirling in a grotesque dance. The words, "Free us," became an eerie chant, gnawing at the edges of her sanity. If she freed them, what would come crawling out? Could they be trusted? Lisa felt the shard in her hand grow warmer, practically vibrating with energy. "It's us or them," she muttered under her breath, but doubt gnawed relentlessly at her heart. When one childlike figure stepped forward, its eyes glimmered with a pain that felt all too real. She could see its mouth move, though the words sounded muted, drowned out by the cacophony around them. "Help us. Mama, it's too scary. Please." Mia clung to Lisa's leg, her small body shaking. The grasping shadows coiled tighter, and Lisa knew time was thinning like a thread unraveling. "Maybe they want to hurt us," she said slowly, keeping her gaze locked on the twisted shapes. "What if they just want another player?" A dark laugh reverberated through the air. "Another heart to join our game, and this one is yours, Lisa," a voice whispered directly into her ear, cold and sinister, sending chills racing down her spine as it felt like icy fingers tracing her neck. Panic surged. She felt trapped not just physically, but psychologically. "No!" Lisa shouted, voice fierce. "I won't fall for your trick. Join us." The shadows pressed on, merging together into a grim visage, mouths twisted into malevolent grins, their laughter rising like an eerie symphony. "Make your choice," they sang, their tones sweet, enticing, dripping with promises of escape or eternal torment. Lisa's determined grip steadied. She had to think clearly. What if freeing one of you meant binding us? She stole quick glances toward Mia, her heart aching as she braced for the unknown. "Mama, I can't breathe." "I know, baby." Lisa's heart ached with fear and determination. "We need to fight this." The shadows laughed harder, the sound vibrating through her bones. A chill scuttled up her spine as a new figure emerged, a child with hollow eyes and a wolfish grin. It stepped closer, impossibly close. "Do you trust me?" it asked with a tone of feigned innocence. "Free us. We'll play forever." Time slowed. What kind of game was this? Was freeing them a chance at survival or the final nail in their coffin? "Mama, I'm scared," Mia cried, her grip digging deeper into Lisa's leg, tiny fingers trembling. A moment of clarity hit Lisa like a slap. "We need to run. There's no freedom here." But the moment she turned, the door behind them slammed shut, echoing like a final judgment. "You cannot escape. You're part of our game now." The shadows began to close in, eager and hungry. Lisa breathed heavily, adrenaline pumping fiercely through her veins. Is this how it ends? She thought, panic clawing at her mind. What would she do next? Could she silence them, or would their voices drown her forever? When the pressure of shadows squeezed tighter, Lisa saw the glint of the shard in her hand. It flickered, illuminating a corner of the room, a small escape route hidden in the chaos. "Get ready, Mia. We have to fight." Determination surged within her as the sinister figures closed in, drawing breath, ready to consume. But surrounded by chaos, a spark of hope ignited. "Together!" Lisa shouted, hoping this would be their moment. Yet, just as she prepared to thrust the shard against the darkness, the children's voices froze in silence. A sinister calm swept over the room. What happens now? As realization dawned, a flicker of dread loomed larger than ever. What new horrors awaited them if they dared to confront the shadows? Would they descend deeper into madness, or would the light guide them home? In the silence, the clock was ticking and Lisa had to choose. The atmosphere shifted, thickening into an oppressive weight that pressed against Lisa's chest. The room, filled with stifling shadows, seemed to breathe alongside her, each inhale a reminder of their dire predicament. Mia's trembling at her side felt like a countdown, a reminder that every second wasted could be their last. "Mama!" Mia whimpered, her voice a mere echo of innocence lost. The child was frightened, and so was Lisa. Fear clenched at her heart. "Trust me, Mia," she replied, steeling herself. "We can do this. We have to get out." But how? The darkness roared like a caged beast, hungry and eager for them to falter. The laughter from the shadows lowered to a mocking whisper. "Do you think you can defeat us? Nobody escapes our game." The shard in her hand pulsed with an unnatural heat, illuminating the fragments of dust dancing passively in the air. Lisa squeezed it tighter, a burning resolve igniting within her. She wouldn't be just a player in their twisted game. The childlike figure with the hollow eyes stepped even closer, its grin stretching impossibly wide. "Your love is your weakness," it taunted. "It makes you predictable and easy to manipulate. Don't listen to it, Mia." Lisa urged, feeling the pull of despair tugging at her sanity. "It's lying. We can break free." With every word, the shadows rippled and surged forward like a living tide. A flicker of doubt crept in. What if they were right? What if the darkness knew her heart better than she did? As if sensing her uncertainty, figures began emerging with feral glee, their forms twisting and shifting. "Join us. Feel the joy of eternal play." Mia whimpered again, clinging tighter. "I don't want to play, Mama. I want to go home." "I want that too." Lisa's heart ached for her daughter, torn between the allure of freedom and the promise of terror. "But we can't just give in." Then, in that moment of clarity, she saw at the hidden corner the shard had illuminated earlier. A glimmering path that seemed to pulse in tandem with her heartbeat. "Follow me," she shouted, daring to dash toward the light, dragging Mia along. The shadows screamed in outrage, their dark tendrils wrapping and pulling at them, trying to drag them back into despair. As they rushed toward the glimmer, the temperature in the room dropped, an icy grip clawing at their heels. A chilling voice hissed through the air. "You can't escape what you don't understand, Lisa. Your fate is sealed." Mia stumbled, nearly falling, but Lisa was quick to regain her footing, pulling her daughter close. "Keep running. Don't look back." Just as they reached the shimmering corner, a loud crash erupted behind them, the door smashing open. The creatures, enraged, spilled forth, a tide of chaos that threatened to swallow them whole. "Now!" Lisa yelled, shoving the shard toward the light that swirled just ahead. She felt its energy blast forth, vibrating through her body, the light exploding like a sun-breaking dawn. But even as the brightness flared and enveloped them, she felt the familiar cold breath of the shadows closing in. The choice she had made, a beacon of hope or a deeper descent into darkness. "Mama, I can't breathe." And then there was silence. A deafening, consuming silence. The light flickered, and everything around them faded to black, leaving only an echo of truth hanging heavily in the air. Lisa's breath caught. What had she done? "Where are we?" Mia's small voice trembled in the darkness, thick with uncertainty. The only response was the sound of distant laughter, a chilling, omnipresent sound that brushed against her sanity. "What game are we playing now?" Lisa whispered, dread creeping into her bones. As they stood on the brink of another unknown, she felt an icy grip tighten around her heart. They had crossed a line, but into what realm of horror? The shadows whispered again, teasing and taunting. "You've made your choice, and now you must face its cost." And in the suffocating blackness, the clock began to tick once more. What would they become? In the oppressive darkness, Lisa's heart raced, and every instinct screamed at her to hold on tight to Mia and not let go. The shadows swirled around them like a writhing mass, a living nightmare eager to consume their very souls. With the shard still clutched in her palm, she wiped the sweat from her brow and ventured deeper into the black. "Mama?" Mia whispered, her small voice trembling, echoing through the void. "Is it over?" "I don't know, sweetie," Lisa replied, her throat tight with anxiety. "But we'll figure it out together." She gazed around, the darkness felt suffocating, almost sentient, bearing down on them. Suddenly, a flicker of light broke through, soft and inviting, like the sun emerging after an endless storm. Lisa felt drawn to it, yearning for warmth. "Mia, we have to move. Over there," she cried, beckoning her daughter toward the glow. As they dashed forward, the shadows hissed with rage, swirling in a whirlwind of whispers. "You can't escape, you belong to us." The sinister echo enveloped them. Lisa kept moving, pulling Mia behind her, determination igniting her every step. They reached the source of the light, a circular room with walls covered in mirroring shards, reflecting their terrified faces. At the center stood the larger mirror, shimmering, its surface rippling as though alive. Above it floated an untouched doll, wisps of light surrounding it, as if tethered by invisible strings. "Mama, look!" Mia pointed, wide-eyed. The soft glow sent warmth through the frost of fear enveloping Lisa's heart. But just as they moved closer, the shadows lunged with a frantic roar, engulfing the room in a surge of darkness. "You cannot have what does not belong to you," they screeched, their voices rising like a cacophony. "No!" Lisa shouted, raising the shard high, its light erupting powerfully, piercing through the veil of shadow. "You want to take us?" The room filled with a brilliant glare, and for the first time, she saw the faces of the children trapped in the mirror. Horrified, they reached out, eyes wide with fear and longing. "Help us! Free us!" they cried, their voices blending into one desperate plea. "No, I want to lie to you," Lisa sobbed, torn between heartache and the glimmer of hope that could arise from their release. "Mia, we can't trust them. Please, Mama." Mia whimpered, her voice rising above the turmoil. "They need our help." Time hung heavily as Lisa battled against her instincts. To free them was to embrace the unknown, to take a leap of faith into the darkness and risk losing everything. But she also saw it a chance to end the never-ending terror. "They're just children like you," Lisa whispered to Mia. "They might have been trapped just like us." In that moment, the decision crystallized in her mind. She turned toward the mirror, breathing deeply. "If I let you go, you must promise to never return," she shouted, her resolution shining bright. "You must find peace." The room trembled under the weight of her words, the shadows recoiling in surprising hesitation. "No!" they shrieked, their tendrils flickering, desperate to feed off the fear. With a fierce shout, Lisa thrust the shard toward the mirror. Light erupted, cascading over the children, enveloping them in a warm embrace. "Find your light," she cried, desperation guiding every inch of her strength. The children's cries transformed, morphing from fearful wails into bell-like laughter as the light consumed them. The weight of darkness lifted like morning dew evaporating in the sun. The shadows howled in agony, dissolving around Lisa and Mia as they stood together, hands clasped tightly. Then, a stunning silence washed over them, a quiet that felt like the first breath taken after a long dive into murky waters. The mirror crackled, shards falling away, revealing a landscape blooming with color and warmth beyond. "Mama?" Mia looked up, hope shining in her eyes. "We did it, Mia. We're free." Lisa's heart soared, joy bursting through the remnants of fear that lingered. The warmth radiated, and they stepped forward through the light, leaving the shadows behind. As they crossed the threshold, Lisa paused and turned to glance back. The murmur of lost children merged with fading laughter, finally freed, and she felt a bittersweet ache. Hand in hand, they walked away, the sunlight breaking through the horizon, a fresh start awaiting them. "Let us go home," Lisa said, squeezing Mia's hand. With each fading step, the weight of the shadows crumbled. She felt the fear lift, knowing they had faced both darkness and light, forever changed but finally free to cherish the warmth of tomorrow. No longer bound by the game of shadows, they stepped into the new day, ready to embrace whatever came next anew. And now, folks, this is the moment to show your support. You need to subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories that will send shivers down your spine. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm because your engagement really does matter. I want to hear from you. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild conclusion. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Let us build this community together.